just came back from climbing outside. We tried a bunch of different shoes. Should we start with the beginner shoes? Is there a difference between beginner shoes or not?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. But when we're at the crag though, like what Heinz said is that... What do you think is the best warm-up shoe, Heinz?
Fourier.
That's a commercial spirit, I like it.
It's not a joke. I think beginners should start with the Fourier.
Yeah. You think it should be a stiff shoe?
Beginners can still drive Ferraris.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but there's definitely a difference. Like, there's a lot of difference in the work that goes into them. There's a lot of difference in the way they move, in the way they perform. But maybe all the work and everything that goes into the more advanced shoes, as a beginner, you don't notice so much. And of course, you sacrifice some durability. But there's a lot of pleasure in climbing in a Fourier Air.
Do you think a soft shoe is better for a beginner?
Yeah, because feeling your feet is very important.
I always thought that the older you are, the stiffer the shoe kind of thing.
No,
but
I'm the contrary. I'm going softer and softer.
The people working at like the average climbing shop, how much do they know?
Depends. Here, really good.
Yeah, that's what.
Because the wall is huge and they fit a lot of climbing shoes. These guys all climb themselves. Maybe I've been to lots of shops where the advice is not very good, where people just basically steer people into their favorite shoe.
I know what shoes I like and what I don't like, but I have no idea why I like them or why I don't like them. It's all too complicated for me, and that's why I decided to do this with Heinz and Nathan, who Heinz has designed all my favorite shoes throughout like 20 years, so also Nathan knows more about shoes than anyone else I know. If you walk into a climbing shop, you ask the person behind the counter, what shoe should I get? I haven't climbed before, or I've climbed a couple of times. He would probably recommend something like this. For me, this felt like climbing in a ski boot. I had no control. I felt like I could just fire off without any notice. But this felt like more like what I'm used to.
So it's getting softer. The upper's got less construction to it. So it's being more malleable and you're getting a better sensation.
And the stitching, that's something that you should look at when you buy climbing shoes, right? Or
I always look at shoes inside out.
Yeah.
On a really well constructed shoe where it's thought out what the shoe's going to be over time, you're going to get to have a look at the end here, and it should really be like a pocket that your toe sits in, because that's going to give you better sensitivity and it's going to hold the shape over time. Whereas a simple stitch shoe, you'll just see this stitch pattern that runs around the perimeter of the whole sole. It runs around like this, and then there might be all this crosshatch stitching and stuff like that, but over time it doesn't hold the stretch if you're wearing it tight. That's why I always look at them inside out, because I'm more concerned about what the first layer is that's going to be touching my foot through to the last layer. Beginners are seeking comfortable shoes, but don't confuse that with a poorly constructed shoe. There's differences.
What is a poorly constructed shoe?
A poorly constructed shoe, in my opinion, my personal opinion, is when you've designed the product and you manufacture it to make it as easy for the factory to make the shoe. And a performance-orientated shoe is where you do a lot of these difficult steps in production because it optimizes the shoe when you're climbing in it. To make a shoe, you want to make it as simple as possible and as quickly as possible. When you're climbing in a shoe, you want it to work as well as possible. You're not really going to notice at the point of the shop when you try all the shoes on. And that's really the tricky bit. It's what's it going to be like in 4 weeks. Construction wise, this is completely different. So if you look inside the shoe, it's made so there's a seamless panel around the toe here. How long is the shoe going to maintain this shape for and keep optimal performance? Both feel the same at the shop, but what's really important is what's it going to feel like in 4 or 5 weeks? Is it going to maintain that shape and precision, or is it going to stretch out and become sloppier and less precise?
Right. Do you resole a lot?
I resole all of mine.
Yeah.
I resole, I don't have to pay for my shoes because I'm testing. But I resole my shoes for 5 times.
Okay.
Because once I'm in a shoe, I really love it because it takes the shape of my foot.
Look at it from the outside. What pleases you, what you're happy with, what colors you like, what style you like. Look at the materials, whether you like the touch of them, and then look from the inside out. And then think about how long the shoe's going to last. If I was a beginner, I could never imagine myself buying my first pair of climbing shoes and never climbing again.
Right.
So I'd probably choose something along the lines of something like this. It's quite a well-made climbing shoe. It's still neutrally lasted, so not too curvatured. Would suit a beginner. But then when I move up into another shoe, something like my next shoe might be something like a Dragu. Then I've got something that's still useful after, that doesn't just go in the bin. But if I'm going to go multi-pitch climbing or I'm going to do like a traditional route along it, I've still got something useful for it. And then obviously the Dragu, once you get something more like this, you tend to use that more. So this shoe doesn't just go in the garbage bin after you buy your next shoe. It's still useful.
Right.
And to do that, you'd need to buy a higher quality beginner shoe at the start. Whereas something like this is really just like a stamp in time. You buy it, it's your first shoe, you wear it for a while, you wear it out, or you go halfway through it, you chuck it over your shoulder, you never touch it ever again. Think about like the shoe being useful after you've stopped being a beginner climber. People aren't beginner climbers for long. Everyone's an expert after 4 weeks.
Yeah. Actually. So this is like one of the first climbing shoes I ever wore. And when it came out of the box, it was like this. And then it gradually goes like that.
Because it was made on a last with that shape, but the tensions didn't hold the shape.
It's only rubber and material without any tension on the rubber.
Yeah, because that's what, like, I used to really like these shoes.
Straight out of the box.
They were
awesome.
I mean, they were not comfortable, and they would last me maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But they used to be
2 or 3 weeks. It was a party.
Yeah. This is a really down-to-earth shoe, and this is not out yet, is it?
I think Heinz sort of just finished this.
It's next spring.
Next spring.
Next spring. And what is the key to keeping this shape?
Tensions, rubber tensions.
Yeah. Well, that was a really nice route.
Good, huh?
Even in brand new shoes. Never worn these before, and they come out in...
Supposed to be on the shelves like before spring next year. They're all synthetic as well.
Do they smell more or less?
Well, a bit more, yeah. I mean, it
a
depends
bit more.
how stinky your foot is.
My feet are really stinky.
Alright, well then you got issues.
Yeah.
The Alcantara is really good. Why don't you just wash them, you lazy bastard?
I can wash climbing shoes?
Yeah, if you wash your socks, don't you? Wash them like hand wash them.
I'll try that. Hand wash.
Depends how toxic your sweat is.
Oh, it's really toxic. Okay, you take?
Yeah. It's all the coffee you drink.
Yeah, that probably is.
You can see the tension. These holes are all circular at the start. And you can see they're going slightly oblong.
Yeah.
Because this is pulled at a different tension to this, and this is giving this shape. And that's what's making it spring back each time.
Right.
And the stitch pattern at the top.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a complicated construction, it's only rubber and material. And if you don't put any stretch or anything in it, then eventually it's going to want to do this.
Right.
There's a long testing period to find out the right tensions and the combination of the right materials.
Right, yeah. And this was also another shoe that was like one of my first climbing shoes, and this is also one that you designed, right, Heinz?
Yeah.
It was meant for steep climbing.
Yeah.
It's soft.
It's just a soft shoe. It's
okay. Yeah, people use this for like 10 years. That was like people's favorite shoe for many, many years.
Yeah, I used it a lot. It's a great shoe. It's just that its peak is really small.
Okay.
So you get it, it's kind of optimal for like 4 weeks.
Yeah, shoes like this, they just get wider with the use. Leather. This is a combination because the leather is on the back here, and in the front there is microfiber that adapts and works. It's elastic.
So you get different properties.
Combination is a good compromise.
Yeah. The leather's a little bit stronger, less stinky.
Less stinky.
For a stink foot like you.
Exactly.
Me, less stinky. Yeah. And the microfiber feels softer and nicer. Really, you want, exactly like Heinz said, a combination of materials. So you're looking for the best material of what it does in each position. And then the trick is making each one of those layers work with your foot really well. 4 different layers, a bunch of different materials, and they all have to work together over time, not just instantly. Because you don't want the shoe just to work straight out of the box. You want it to have like a lifespan. You almost have to do like 100% more to get 1% better performance. To get it that little bit better and that 1% extra, it takes a lot more work.
Yeah, not only more complicated.
Yeah, it's more complicated
more
to put together.
skilled people to do the job.
But this really feels like downturn to me, and it reminds me of like the, what was it? The Testarossa, and that's also something you designed. Because you used to work for La Sportiva, right? Yeah.
I would see it as an upgrade of the Testarossa. It's the next step. It's a special retention system here, this extension under your foot. It's like a suspension system that keeps also the shape of the shoe for a long time. The art of making climbing shoes is always to put, it's a fight between performance and comfort, because every shoe conforms at a certain point. You just wear it 4 sizes below your street shoes and it will perform in some way.
That's true.
And so the art is to make it a reasonable size
and still have that laser precision.
And that's why you can resole a shoe like this many times. I mean, you said something when we talked off camera, you said something about volume. The feet are shaped different from person to person. And how does that play? Like, is that important? When you go into a climbing shop, should you...
I think that's a real misconception. A lot of the people think about a shape of a climbing shoe and go, oh, what's the closest shape to my foot? I'll select that. You're like, none of the climbing shoes are the shape of your foot. What you're going to do is you're going to grab your foot and you're going to jam it into this climbing shoe, and in that process your foot and the shoe are going to make a compromise between either, and the position that your foot is in is going to dictate how much power you have on small holds, how much comfort it is, and how easy it is to spin. But none of these shapes look like your or my foot.
No.
Even the beginner ones, it doesn't look like your foot, you know. And that's why we have so many different shapes.
But the well-made shoe adapts to your foot shape.
So it won't lose its shape, but it adapts to your foot.
Yeah.
For a beginner, or for, would you say Velcro because it's easier to slip into, or?
Slippers are the easiest.
I think Velcro is good enough for a beginner.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be fixed that precise on the foot.
So laces is something that you maybe should wait with.
Laces bring more precision to the story.
Here you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then another 2 on the other side. So more or less 16 points in which you're pulling the shoe in for adjustment and pressure. Here you have 2. A slipper is really easy to get on and off. It's elasticated, but you're really limited in the way that it can fit and the adjustment of it. A Velcro is kind of like a compromise in between.
And then there's the Fiore Air. That's your warm-up, or that's your beginner shoe, Heinz.
It's very comfortable.
It's very comfortable. But it feels like putting on a sock. Surprisingly, it has a lot of support for a light shoe like that. It's the world's lightest, right?
I think it is, yeah.
150 grams.
Yeah, and when you made it, like, what was the thought behind it?
I wanted to make it for me.
For you?
It was something that was just really a lot of fun to climb in. And you learn a lot with your foot. It adapts perfectly to your foot as you move. So you learn to use your foot really well.
Could you buy that as your only shoe? No. You always need a second stiffer.
You're going to visit a different crag.
I have always 2 different shoes. A really soft one and a more supportive one. Depends on the type of climbing.
Even not so steep with large footholds that you're padding up. It works really well.
You have a big surface for friction.
Smearing on slabs and stuff.
Yeah, it's great. If you have to have your shoe on for a long time, it's really comfortable.
Has anyone worn the Fiore Air in competitions? To change if you need the...
Competitions now are on the big volumes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's all about smearing.
Jumping, running, all that kind of stuff.
And really feeling the surface, kind of.
If it's really soft, it adapts better to the structure.
So if we look at it like inside out, like I always like to look at it, you look at the materials, the stitch pattern, then the tension system, and then the outside shape. The midsole you can't see, but you can feel. Is there a difference between like men and women's shoes? Sure.
Usually shape of women's feet is more skinny.
Skinny on top?
On top.
Okay.
And then the heel.
Because you Nathan, you said that Drago is a popular shoe among women, right? And that's also because of the volume, right? How they fill the shoe.
Drago is actually pretty low volume shoe. The FZ last, is actually pretty low volume. It's designed for high performance climbing, you know, light climbers, moving fast. I think a lot of the men and women's shoes for a lot of companies is just color. Yeah. Different color on each side.
So it's marketing.
More or less, yeah, more or less. Whereas we do treat them differently. We make a different last at the factory, and then we take the volume off in different places as well.
I also think I wear my shoes pretty tight. Like I use 39.5, and normally I'm 42.
Wow.
So that's pretty tight.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too tight.
I'm 42, and I take 40.5 at the smaller size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
usually I would recommend 1 size, 1.5 sizes.
Yeah.
Less.
Maximum.
Yeah. Okay.
Below the street shoe size.
That might be a legacy left over from you having uncomplicated construction shoes. So to get precision out of them, you wore them ultra tight.
Because the downside of wearing too small is that you push the end and you're sliding off the small hole.
So maybe I should start ordering my shoes in 40 or 40.5 from now.
Downsizing a soft shoe means to make it a harder shoe. You are taking away softness in the end.
It's like a fist.
You get a little bit more precision, but it's different shoe.
And how do you think like the future for climbing shoes? Is there? I mean, it seems like the climbing shoes are as good as they're gonna get, and you have all the material in the world. Like how are you? Do you feel like there's potential to
lots of materials to discover?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any plans of like a crazy new model, kind of like the Fiore Air? You're gonna make it even lighter?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the advice if you go into a shop? What should you ask? What should you look for? What should you?
You should put it on.
You should put it on. You should try a bunch of shoes.
Try a bunch of shoes. Try weighting the shoe.
Because they are different lasts, so maybe one of these lasts fits better to your foot.
But shouldn't you actually try to climb a little bit in those shoes?
Because for sure. The foot is a different shape.
Yeah. So what you should do then is sign up for like a shoe demo or something.
This is ideal.
That's the best.
That's the best.
The foot changes position when you climb. You know, look at the close-ups that we did. Look how much the foot changes position there. Climbing shoes are fitted without socks, with precision. not like boots.
So when I started climbing, Five.Ten was famous for having the best rubber in the world.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
I totally agree.
You agree?
It was. Yeah. I think
now it's more even. It's
yeah.
Because the development kind of stopped in the last 20 years, I can say.
The rubber is like really important.
Because we don't, climbing doesn't have the financial background like Formula One. So there is not the same money in research like Formula One tires.
Yeah. But you see it growing though, right? The climbing aspect, because you have ski boots, you have hiking boots and all that stuff. And
climbing in general is growing, and obviously with that climbing shoes grow as well. But I think the knowledge is still pretty low. Like a common comment to me is these are the best shoes in the world. And you ask someone, oh, how many pairs have you had? And they're like, 20 pairs, they're the best. And you're like, so how do you know they're the best? Yeah. If you've had 20 pairs continuously of the same shoe. Like that's a really common comment. Yeah. But we use the rubber in different ways on the climbing shoe as well. We use it for bracing the foot at the front. We use it for the elastication of the tension system. And you use it for the friction in the toe. Rubber is highly elasticated but without friction. Whereas this rubber is almost without any elasticity but has very good friction.
But friction on all types of rock? Is there a difference between granite and limestone? And
no, in granite usually you need a more tough, a harder rubber that doesn't roll. Because it keeps the edge.
And on sandstone you want a softer?
Like another difference here is we use extremely soft rubber on top.
Yeah, I especially felt that on the boot.
Because it's more comfortable and also has a better friction.
Yeah.
This shoe feels much more precise than the Drago, but not as soft. It's this tension at the front here that's containing your foot.
You want to kind of use different techniques with different shoes, right? So with this shoe, when you place your foot on a hold, you don't slide around as much, right? But with this, you slide around a little bit, you adjust, you do like micro adjustments. So you
have to climb more precisely with this shoe. That's another point.
And I think that's why I've never gotten into stiff shoes, because I climb pretty fast and I don't like to be precise. I think that just makes me, I get pumped faster because I spend more time in the wall.
If I grabbed another person that had spent 20 years climbing in stiff shoes and gave them the Drago, it would be inverted and they would go, whoa, this is really imprecise. You'll be pretty shocked how much more precise a booster is than a Drago. But if you don't continue to change back and forth, you have this distant memory of how horrible stiff shoes were and how lovely soft shoes are, you know.
Would you say there's a difference between like a good bouldering shoe, a good sport climbing shoe, and obviously a good multi-pitch shoe must be more stiff? For bouldering, I would never wear laces because it's too much of a hassle to put on and off, having to tie your shoes every time. But other than that, are there any other things that you...
I always stand down the bottom of a boulder problem or a route and think about what foothold have I got the most problem with on the route and what do I need the most confidence with, and I choose the shoe according to that. Whatever.
You can also make a compromise. You can use two different models.
Most important is what feels good to you. So you should just try on a bunch of different shoes, figure out what works for you. Preferably try climbing in them. Go to a shoe demo or a climbing shop where they have a little climbing wall or something.
It's difficult to go backwards.
That's true. If you buy this as your first climbing shoe, I mean, there's no way out. You're hooked.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
hopefully you got something out of this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, come on, mate.